Hello everyone. In this video, I want to talk about the topic of success and failure, and in a way, uh, describe my life's journey with certain success and failure moments of my life. I'm doing this video because I saw some online posts about some people who are trying to motivate people about success. But there's a key to success or an element of success that many people sometimes ignore about success and ignore about failures in our life. And I have seen many people in my personal life struggle with success and failure related right attitude and mindset towards it, because of which I want to make this video. Because unless we have the right kind of very organic to us mindset about success or failure, it can end up destroying someone's soul or disrupting someone's organic development of the way in which uh, if they try to lead their life, it might help them be more in alignment with their inner soul wishes, desires, dreams, hopes, and help them actually conversely achieve the success they are running towards. So, if you have heard about the law of attraction, one key rule about the law of attraction says you have to ask, believe, and then you will receive. So, say someone wants success in having a particular salary, and they say they want $1 million as their salary. So, they've asked the universe for that salary. They have to believe in their heart that they are capable of getting that salary, and then only they will receive it. But law of attraction isn't the only thing at play when we are leading life on earth. There are some people who, if they just believe and write down on a paper or a check or something and carry that check around with them for many years, and they will eventually get that $1 million they ask the universe for. But before the universe can deliver it, and there are many people who also conversely think that they have asked, they've also believed, but even though they have surrendered the expectation, they still don't receive what they had asked the universe for. But herein is where the success and failure mindset is a little off in most of us, because of which sometimes, even if you have asked, even if you have believed, it takes a while for you to receive what you have asked for. Why? Because there are many other missing steps, many other interconnected steps that one has to go through in order to be successful at what they are asking the universe to deliver to them. Okay? So, first, I'll talk about a few of my failures in life and what did I receive from those failures, or what success I gained eventually despite having failures in those aspects. So, as a child, I was pretty good in studies most of my life. I've always got um, top tier grades in my school. A few handful of times from one first standard or KG to 12th grade, I have even got a second rank in some of my classes. But I wasn't like super smart or all, I wasn't studious at all. For me, I would just study a few days before the exams for most of my life. So because of this, and the only reason I would also sit and study is we had Indian parents who would hound you if you're not studying before your exams. And because my parents were like that, and they would mostly hound me just before the exam time, they expected us to study all the time. But even though they had that expectation, I very rarely studied all the time, and because of which I would get good marks in school, but I would also forget whatever I had studied, because after the grade was done, I mostly forgot 90% of whatever was taught in school. And there were a few difficult times and phases in my life when some deaths happened in the family. I was depressed, or difficult times were going on in the family, and I wasn't a really good student. And in those times, the times when I got like grades which were just barely passing, or B grades instead of getting A grades in school, things like that. So overall, I was a good student, I would think, in the sense of the Indian system of gaining good marks in school and college. And um, so that's how I led my life. As a student in a normal school in India, and mine was a government school, I was really doing well in all the uh, written subjects and theory and practical subjects. But what I was bad at in school, and I would have failed if our school had more advanced settings of this, was sports. I was really bad at sports. I was a pudgy kid, and I wasn't really that chubby when I was younger. But in the teen years, I started gaining a lot of weight, and I was in the overweight zone from mid teens onwards. So, any of my higher education, secondary school or higher secondary education time, if we had really strict PT teachers, physical education teachers, they would have likely either failed me or graded me really poorly. And fortunately for us, it wasn't like a graded subject, even though we had PT in school in the secondary school grade, and there were occasionally sports activities in our school. But thankfully, I skated by because my school wasn't highly competitive about sports. But I grew up feeling very insecure and kind of depressed about not being good at sports. I always used to feel really terrible about me not being good in any kind of sport activities, even in like building activities. Like, in India, we sometimes have annual days in buildings, sometimes we have school sports day, fun events. In any of those events, which I very rarely participated, but whenever I did participate, I used to be towards the end, and I would lose those games. So I had a regret that I'm not great at sports. I used to love badminton, but even with badminton, what used to happen, we had a very limited space in our building, and like 8-10 girls would play during summertime in the mornings or evenings, and use that court for playing. And I think boys also used to use that court, and we used to just kind of share our timing. So say if girls are using it for 1 hour in the morning, then maybe in the evening the boys will use it, or something organically used to happen. So because I never faced any fights with other children of a building who might have wanted to use the same space as us. So in the summertime, when we would use it for 2 hours or something in the morning, if 10 of us are playing, most of us would only get to play if we would rally really well with our partner. So anyone who was very good at rallying while playing the badminton would end up getting more court time, while the one, if you drop the shuttlecock while you are throwing it at your opponent, and or if they are throwing it at you and if you're dropping it, then you are out of the court. So I wasn't that great. I had an eye problem as well as a child, and I used to really not enjoy wearing glasses, because even though I have a problem with, and you can see my this eye is a little more smaller in size, because I am myopic, and because of that, while playing, I would sometimes miss while hitting the shuttlecock, because I would very rarely wear my glasses. Even now, it's just something I find very annoying to wear, because the glasses get always foggy, and dust particle sticks to it in the Indian pollution. Even in US, when I used to live there, where pollution was much less, even then it was the same thing. The glasses attract pollution, and because of that, I very rarely used to wear glasses unless and until I was just using it while driving. So I was a failure in a sport that I enjoyed playing as well, which again made me feel sad that I am not getting enough time to play on the court. But that never deteriorated or detracted me from enjoying badminton anytime after that, age that I played with any of my friends. And I can literally count the handful of times I have played badminton with anyone, even though that's kind of the only sport that I am kind of okay at playing. And then one time in US when I was doing my MBA, my classmates who were very good at playing TT, one of them had invited us over for dinner at her house. And after dinner, we started playing table tennis, and I was so miserable at that. But by then, all the kind of regrets and shame or feeling sad and disappointed that I'm not great in sports had completely flown away from me. I really didn't care that I'm not good at sports, and I laughed at myself while playing table tennis and missing all the shots, because I had decided by then, so what, that I am a failure in sports. There are so many other things except sports that I am above average at, or good at. So why be disappointed at one aspect of life that you aren't good at and that maybe you don't enjoy? Because eventually, because of the way I lived my life, I didn't end up enjoying sports of many kinds. The only kind of physical activity that I picked up later on in my life and that I really enjoyed was going for workouts in the gym and doing Zumba. These are the two of my favorite workouts when indoors, and sports like activities that I enjoy, or physical activity that I really enjoy. And the other physical activity that is my enjoyment is walking, because I hadn't learned swimming or cycling as a child. And as an adult, even though I tried to do it a couple of times, I have still been so hesitant in trying these two things that I am still, even though I'm in my 40s and even though they are my aspirational things to learn, I'm kind of okay if I don't learn these two things even now in my life. So, when you're failing at something or when you're not good at something, you can have two attitudes in life. One is I want to succeed at that. Like my brother, we had a reason for not learning cycling when we were younger, but he wanted to learn cycling, so he kept insisting our dad, please get us a cycle. So after him hounding our dad for like 5 years or 3 years or something, our dad finally got us a cycle. And then the cycle he got was a fat one that only a boy can ride, and I couldn't even carry. My muscles were like all bad. I couldn't even lift the cycle or lift myself onto a cycle, and it was a very sturdy boy like cycle. So I tried riding that cycle one time, fell down from the cycle. Like my dad was saying that he's going to hold on to the cycle, but he didn't have the strength to hold on. And it's his fault. If he had taught us when we were like 10-year-old kids or something, he would have easily taught us cycling. But because I was by then a pudgy teenager, he couldn't hold on to the cycle. I was likely a little bit higher in weight than him, so it wasn't possible for him to train me. And I got so pissed off at my dad that why didn't you train me when I was younger, and why didn't he get a cycle that would be like suitable for a girl also to ride. I just decided I'm not going to ride it, and I never rode a cycle after that. I had one time got a cycle from a friend when she left the place I lived in Utah, and that was a cycle suitable for a child to ride or a teen to ride, because my friend was a little shorter in height. Even that cycle, even though I had an opportunity to learn using it, because it is not one of my priorities in life that I have to succeed in doing this activity, I never did it. So sometimes failure or not being able to succeed at something is just a lack of motivation in wanting to succeed at it. Whereas my brother, he had also grown a little taller by then, but he was still younger than me, and that's why my dad was able to teach him how to ride the cycle. And even if my dad just went 1 or 2 times to teach him how to ride the cycle, my brother wanted to learn how to ride the cycle, so he rode it, and he knows cycling now that I don't know. So, even though you had the same parenting and similar experience, one person wanted to succeed at it. Uh, and when we didn't have a cycle, he wanted to make sure that our dad will get us a cycle so that he can eventually one day learn to ride it. Okay, so that is the other attitude. Like, if you are failing at something, or if you're not getting something that you wish for and want to really learn from your heart, or you feel this is an important skill I should have in my life, then universe will set up circumstances and will give you what you have asked. So my brother asked for a cycle, he received a cycle. And he wanted to learn cycling, that's why he made sure that he will learn the cycling. I was neutral about learning cycling. I was neutral about the experience of not being able to ride a bicycle. And when I got a failure by falling down from the cycle, it detracted me, because I was like, I will have a broken bones or broken shin, because I could see my dad is not going to hold on to the cycle. And my dad was the kind who was never very supportive or overtly like caring about these things. So I knew I had to either learn it on my own, and I was too embarrassed to learn it on my own as a fat chubby person everyone is going to look at while riding, and who is going to keep on falling. And this fear has been there in my back of my mind. Even now I'm still chubby, right? So that's why I decided that only maybe I will learn cycling when maybe I have a kid and I'm teaching the kid cycling. I'll also learn along with the kid, or maybe I will never learn cycling. I'm resigned to both of these outcomes. So this is my attitude about failures in life. That this is the second kind of attitude. The first kind is you keep trying and trying until you get it. If you want to succeed at something. My attitude is, if this is something I need to learn, or if this is something that is important for me to do, I will do it. Otherwise, maybe the universe is trying to guide me to other things that might be better suited for me. Which is why, yes, cycling is a key important activity. It is a good health activity. If I had learned cycling as a 8-year-old or 10-year-old when all my friends were doing it, my friends used to go riding the bicycle in the morning times or evening times, I would have joined them. But by this 8th grade, when my dad actually got the cycle, all of my friends were just into studies. They weren't into enjoying their life, because 8th grade is also the time when we all girls get our periods. So after you get your periods, doing some of the sporting activities also reduces in India, because girls feel uncomfortable with bleeding. Things are not comfortable in India for these things. People are anyways bleeding, and everything is a taboo topic even in now in India. So because of that, girls kind of stop being very sport oriented after teen years. Very few girls continue being sporty, continue onwards investing their time into any kind of sport like activities after they reach some higher grades in secondary school or high school level. And by then, girls are resigned to doing homely activities or other things like that. And I had my level of physical activity with my friends as a child, but our physical activities weren't highly strenuous. So I always led a very partly sedentary kind of childhood games that we would play would involve some walking around, hiding around in the building, walking up and down the stairs in the building, things like that. Our childhood was all free entertainment and free use of the lift area and parking lot of our building spaces and things like that. And any of the paid sports activities, I just didn't do. My dad tried to enroll me in dancing class, but there was a issue with the dancing class too. So because of that, I never learned dancing. That is one thing I partly regret not knowing now. But even again, with dancing also, it is the same thing. Like cycling, that I feel if I wish to learn dance, I'll learn it. Like Zumba, I went and took the Zumba class. I enjoyed the Zumba class. I didn't know if I would enjoy it, but after taking a couple of classes, I enjoyed it so much that it became one of my favorite things to do. Even when I'm not doing a class online, I can turn on YouTube videos and do some Zumba moves while watching some Zumba instructor online. So my way of handling any kind of successful thing in life or something that I would enjoy doing has been about organically transitioning into doing it. So even with dance, if I feel organically I want to transition into it, I would someday learn it. So that was regarding, so dancing wasn't really a failure, it was just that I didn't wish to learn. Same thing with cycling, I don't consider necessarily a failure, except that I have some fears surrounding it. Now next comes painting. Okay, so in Maharashtra they have these elementary and intermediate art exams that people can apply during 7th 8th grade, and 8th grade was my toughest time in life, in teen life I think. So in 8th grade, I think I did the 8th or 9th grade, I did the this elementary exam I passed but barely passed it, and then intermediate I failed the intermediate. But again, when I was failing the intermediate, even though I enjoyed going to my art class and learning things from my art teacher, during 8th and 9th grade, because some family problems were going on, and also because I was all gravitating towards reading a lot of storybooks, reading a lot of mysteries, and watching a lot of TV and things like that, I completely got derailed from pursuing art very seriously. So it was very natural that when I failed the 9th grade art exam, because firstly it was a very structured exam, it had very time bound settings, like 1 hour of still art painting, 1 hour of some other painting. There were different categories in intermediate, and all these different categories that intermediate exam had, they were all very timed, and I didn't pass any of those exams that gracefully. In fact, I knew I was going to fail it, because a couple of them I couldn't even finish because the time limits were gone and I didn't finish it properly. So again, I failed at intermediate, and after that 9th 10th 11th 12th, Indian students are always very busy with class activities and getting good grades in their 10th exam, good grades in their 12th exam, so people are going to tuition and all that. And because of this reason, I didn't pursue art again for a long time. And also because even though art was something I really enjoyed and it used to relax me a lot as a kid, I just went the studious route. It was the easier route to explore in my house, more organic route for me, because I love reading books. So I was just a very standard studious person. But again, even though I was a standard studious person who gets good grades and marks in school and college days, or if not good, I would get above average grades, I was also not, I never considered myself a student of life or student of any subject until I grew up, and kind of studies only became the main aspect of my life. Because I really seriously never imagined ever just continuously pursuing degree after degree after degree in my life. But unfortunately and fortunately, that was something I really enjoyed doing, so I kept doing it. I was really good at doing it, so I kept doing it. And when I did it, I even if I didn't enjoy some aspects of it, there were so many other aspects of any subject that I have studied that I have enjoyed, that overall it has been a wonderful experience for me. So for any student who actually fails in school or college any subject that they don't like, or any subject that they have a hard time understanding, there is a reason behind that as well that I want to talk about. Because I have done 3 different master's degrees, and all 3 have been from US. I have a bachelor's degree from India, and in all these degrees, the main thing to passing any exams that are theoretical and practical oriented is that we have to have an aptitude for that subject that we want to pass. If you have an aptitude, if you have an inner affinity towards learning that subject, Or if you don't have the inner aptitude or affinity, if you have good memory skills, then you will pass any of these subjects, because it is, some of it is about memorization of some topics, but some of it is organic understanding of that topic. So for me, any of the topics that I very organically understood, even now, some of those things that I studied 25 years back as a bachelor student, 30 years back even as a any school student, I still remember. And the things that I didn't study with sincerity, things I studied only to gain marks, things I studied only for temporary memory, has completely flown away from the back of my mind, because I do a lot of reading, I do a lot of study, I am involved in understanding multiple topics in multiple subjects. So I can't be an expert of any subject, even though I have a master's in that subject. Even then, despite having masters in some of these subjects, I will consider my mastery only in certain aspects of those subjects rather than everything related to that subject, right? And because I gained the capacity to have mastery about certain aspects of the subject, and those aspects that happen organically with me, that is the reason why I succeeded in doing these different degree programs that are very divergent and very different in the way the curriculum is, in the way the students are have a particular thinking process to succeed in those subjects. So in order to succeed in any subject, you have to either align with the thinking process necessary for that subject, you have to align with the topic that subject is trying to teach you, you have to align with the teacher. Possibly if you have a good teacher, then also you can sometimes end up learning some subjects really well and becoming successful at it. Or the third, the final element is, maybe you're not supposed to learn that subject, because even though I have 3 masters, the first master's degree that I did was actually going to be a PhD degree, and I was not aligned with the PhD mindset necessary to do the things that that subject involved in doing the PhD subject needed me to kill animals, needed me to work on an experiment on animals, all of which was making me really nervous. And I didn't have that mindset of doing that kind of research that PhD degree involved. And because of that reason, when I eventually did fail the PhD program, which was heartbreaking, which was really bad, which was I also tried to join some other similar PhD programs at that point, but I didn't get in because I didn't have the aptitude. So what it made me realize from those 2 failures, first failure was failing the exam and getting out with the masters. Second failure was while applying for other similar level PhD degree programs, I didn't get in, so I felt like a failure there as well. But instead, what path opened for me? I went and got the licensing exam done for a pharmacist in US, and I ended up becoming a pharmacist instead. So the failure of not being able to do a PhD ended up being the success of me being a pharmacist for 6-7 years in a pharmacy in US. And if I had stuck on to doing a PhD, I would never have been a pharmacist. And if I hadn't been a pharmacist, I wouldn't have explored the talkative aspect of my personality, the helpful aspect of my personality, because as a pharmacist, I could interact with patients, I could talk with them to resolve their patient issues. Those are the things that really aligned with my personality, and because of which I was successful more or less as a pharmacist than I was as a PhD student doing research on animal based pharmacy subjects, right? Because I had a master's in pharmacology and toxicology, which was a subject where I had to do experiments in animals or animal systems to find out how toxic medications can be in our body. So I have the basic knowledge of what happens with medicines and what it does to our body, both from my bachelor's and master's degree. So my master's degree didn't go as a complete failure. It helped me in getting a better background about how medicines impact our body. which helped me in the next step of being a pharmacist. And after that, there is another doctoral program I had entered that would have given me even more detailed information on how to take care of patients as a doctor of pharmacy. And that program I didn't fail, but that is a program that I didn't complete. So sometimes, when successes are blocked for whatever reason, and be it a failure, be it a voluntarily quitting of a path that you thought you should go towards, usually there is a higher purpose towards those failures. If you understand that higher purpose, then failures aren't failures. Failures are actually exactly what people say, the stepping stone to your eventual success in something else. Okay, what my failures were the stepping stone to, I don't know yet, because some of these things unfold later on. I do know even now that I could possibly again explore a doctoral degree. There is a doctoral degree in pharmacy, doctoral degree in some other subject also, that I'm very interested in thinking of pursuing. But right now, because I'm 40 years old, there are also many other things I want to teach other people. So I'm at the crux of my life where I don't know whether I should go towards teaching other people, or whether I should go towards studying, or whether I should do both. And because I'm in this crux, I'm making these videos because I think I can, whenever people post certain things in social media, I've found that I have the answers to what you're asking. Maybe it's the answer someone is seeking, and that's why I'm making this video. So whenever you're failing at something, ask yourself these two questions. Is it important for you to succeed in that subject? And is it something, if you don't succeed at, can you live with that? Because both these questions are the key important elements of whether you should keep on trying, or whether you should just let it go and try something else. If I had kept on trying for a PhD program involving research work, which would, because I was from a pharmacy field, 90% of the research work in pharmacy field would have involved animal or human research, and the kind of research work which wasn't aligning with my soul in some ways. And because of that, because the 90% of the research work in my field was my bachelor's field, was something that wouldn't have aligned, I decided to let it go. But because I was in US, I had the opportunity to explore other subjects too. And that's why after working as a pharmacist, I could transition into MBA program, also into healthcare administration program as well, because US gives you this way of pivoting and shifting your life a little bit, which India's very structured studying system doesn't provide us. So why was I able to succeed in a country like US? I consider myself a success. I used to get 3.7 GPA. I don't know about rest of the world, what they think about my success. But to me, success is enjoying what you're doing also. Success is while doing it, if you have learned something and picked up something important while learning some topic, that is also success. Because you never know what you have learned in the past, how it will help you in your present and future. And in my life, always whatever I have learned, be it off the table in real life practical experiences, be it personal life experiences, be it actual degree program experiences, everything has led to learning about something. And true success, the real meaning of success, lies in what you learned, and after learning, how you're implementing it and how you would want to implement it. So that's why if you have failed at something, and say like I failed in PhD program of pharmacology, so it was the universe, to me I felt universe and God is showing that I should shift to a different thing of pharmacy than what I had failed at. And I really realized that after 2 rejections and failures, that I failed twice. Why keep on doing something which maybe is not aligned with me. And during the time that I was failing in these applications to other PhD programs, and also finishing up my master's thesis and everything, I was failing at even writing a thesis because the way I was thinking about writing it was not aligning with the way my professor was thinking about writing it. So because our writing styles and expectations were very different, it took another 6 months for me to write up my thesis of the masters. And so while I had this 6 months of time, while my it was all, again, even though I was failing at writing also a thesis, I felt at that time, though I later on heard there are some professors who take time to make their students write their thesis because they are very invested in it and everything. But at that time it felt like, oh, I should have graduated 3 months sooner or 6 months sooner or something. But despite that, he actually gave me an opportunity while he was taking the time to correct my thesis, for which I'm very thankful to him, though I never thanked him about it. But I was really thankful that I got that opportunity at that time to explore what I went and explored working as a teaching aide in a preschool. And I really used to love kids. I still love kids. So those tiny toddlers are always so cute that I really enjoyed my work experience as a preschool teacher. I only worked for like 1 year, and in that 1 year also only 5-6 months I hung around with the kids in the classes. Most of the other part of my work was involving, they put me in the kitchen duty instead, and I, for the other 6 months, I worked in the kitchen instead of working mostly with the kids. So I really enjoyed that work, and it opened up my heart to interacting with Americans too. So that was the other reason why I was interacting with the kids. I was seeing the American school system or preschool system actually. I was learning about health and nutrition. So it's not that completely healthcare was outside my realm. Healthcare was still there in my life. I was just seeing how nutritionally, how the kids were getting food, or so that experience also in my future healthcare experience helped me in the future, right? And there was a very interesting pharmacy related thing also that happened, that which, if I was just a foreigner living in US and just doing normal foreigner things in US, foreign student things in US, I would and if I had never experienced failure, I would never have had this side experience of being a preschool teacher, in which I learned something related to healthcare that is relevant to me now in my current health related situation, and also relevant to many other people in the world currently. So what did I learn at that time? In our preschool, I was when I was teaching the kids, I was mostly teaching 3-year-old and 4-year-old classes. I have not taught, I was aiding the teachers in those classes. But occasionally I have gone once or twice to 2-year-old classroom, and once or twice to a 4-5-year-old's classroom. And in that not 4-5-year-old, the other classroom was 5 to 8-year-old children classroom group. And because they were not exactly in the preschool range, but they were in the daycare range in that preschool. So in this range of kids who were slightly older, there were a set of twins who had allergy to chocolate or nuts. I don't remember exactly which one. But because they had allergy, and because if you look at the labels even in India or abroad, sometimes chocolates and nuts are usually processed in similar factory settings, and because of which there could be cross contamination and cross pollutions. So if you are allergic to chocolates or if you're allergic to nuts, most of the time kids who get chocolates or nuts and are allergic to one or the other will avoid both products. And so I think these kids were allergic to peanuts, I remember now. So see, it's a memory from like almost in 2005. So I have kind of partly, I blocked out the memory and now I retrieved it again. So these kids, because they had an allergy, we had EpiPen in the refrigerator of the school, and they had strict guidelines for a kid having allergies. Now if it was India, people wouldn't care. And because it was US, people really care. People are very strict. There are strict rules and laws and regulations about how to administer injection to a kid if they had an anaphylactic reaction. And even though I was a temporary teacher for those kids for only like 2 or 3 days, for only 3 or 4 hours in a day, despite that, me being a temporary teacher, they are conscientious enough and diligent enough to teach the teaching aid that I was in their classroom the protocols necessary to make sure that these kids don't get allergic contamination from any food that they consume. And if they indeed ever got any allergy based responses from anything, the injections were there, and regular checkup used to be done to make sure the injections are not expired. Then when parties used to happen for children's birthday parties, there was a strict rule in this school that food should be such that these kids would have either separate food, or some food were distributed that were not going to cause any allergies to these kids. So these kind of protocols of safety related to health are followed in developed countries. They are missing in our country. And afterwards also, when I worked as a pharmacist, I got more exposure to these allergy related work, because I had to also give flu shots to the patients in US for a few years. And I've always been afraid of needles, but despite that, being afraid of needles, I had to take the courage to learn about giving flu shots to patients, having these allergic reaction response related safety protocols to be followed there. So for that, we learn CPR, we learn what to do when a patient might have a allergic reaction to the needle prick of a injection, or any other reason they might get an allergic response to the ingredients of the injection. So these things are very important even in India. But in India, people don't follow these protocols. People don't even have the medication like EpiPen that is available in US. Like, I saw some wholesalers in India having EpiPen in stock, but epinephrine or adrenaline is not present in India. So imagine if I had not failed my pharmacology degree of PhD program, I would not have remembered or done any of the work that I narrated in the last 10-15 minutes of this video. And if I had not narrated any of these 10 or 15 minutes, there are many people who might watch this video who may not be aware of these things, that allergic responses can cause severe health repercussions suddenly in our life and cause us to stop breathing, our heart to stop functioning, because of which a medication like epinephrine or adrenaline is important to have in a pharmacy or in a doctor's setting. But it is not a norm in India, even though it is a norm that is followed in US. Like, at least you will get EpiPen in pharmacies if you're having an allergic reaction, even if you don't get it at a doctor setting, which I think doctors also possibly carry their EpiPen or at least adrenaline based shots in their stock. So one failure can lead to your success in understanding a topic that you never anticipated would be necessary for you to know. But this is a topic that is necessary for me to know now, 20 years later, because I have had some health issues also, which are related to allergic responses. And so now I know where to get the medicine. Though in India, I don't know if I'll get this medicine. But even if I don't get it, if anyone listens to this video and is having an allergic reaction, or is seeing anyone having an allergic reaction, know that they need a drug called EpiPen, or they need a adrenaline shot for immediate recovery from really severe allergic reactions that could cause death. I did divert my topic in this video, but all I'm saying is, if you're failing at something, it's not necessarily a bad thing. You might be succeeding at something else, which might end up helping you succeed at even more some complex things in the future that your 10-year-old self, 20-year-old self can't even anticipate. Because if you didn't have that failure, if I didn't have my failures, I wouldn't have transitioned into different professions. And if I hadn't transitioned into different professions, I wouldn't be talking about children's health or allergic response related health or healthcare or pharmaceutical medications. All of these fields would have been closed off to me. So that's why when you fail, you have to understand, am I supposed to close the door to this subject that I failed at so that I can explore the door to other topics that would be more aligned with my personality, my nature, my thinking process, my aptitude for learning, right? You can think like that, or you can think like, okay, I've failed at it. It just means I didn't grasp the concept or something real well about this subject, and maybe I should keep trying and trying until I pass. Because it really depends on you. Your failures, are they the stepping stone to success in the field you failed at, or are they the stepping stone to success in some other field that you are supposed to succeed at? So question that about yourself when you're failing, instead of questioning why did I fail, or feeling dejected about it, or depressed about it, or unhappy about it. It is natural to feel unhappy, depressed, dejected. I went through 1 year. You think this smiling face and laughing face was gained the first day I failed my PhD? No, the first day I failed my PhD, I was crying and crying. Possibly, I don't even remember now, because it was in 2004 that I failed it, 2005 that I graduated with a master's. So I don't know, it's been almost 20 years, right? So in 20 years I got the time to adjust myself to this failure. But in 20 years, I had to make an immediate decision within the next 6 months and 1 year what I should do with my life. And because I was in US, I got the opportunity to explore it for 1.5 year. And in that 1.5 year gap, first 6 months the gap was about writing the thesis. The next 1 year was a gap when I was while writing the thesis, there was a little overlap with working in the preschool. While working in the preschool, I understood how to communicate well with Americans. I had fun communicating with tiny Americans. They were so cute, and they just brought me joy. Like, they were the most joyful time of my life in US. And just the pay was not that great, and also I used to feel uncomfortable, like, how do I explain this transition from a PhD degree to a children's teacher. That explaining that in India is very hard. And not even teacher, I was a teacher's assistant, so it's even harder. So for a while, it took me a while to even reconcile that in my resume. I didn't know how to write it in my resume, but luckily, even though that job experience wasn't relevant 20 years back when I went to a pharmacist interview, and it was only partly relevant related to the injections, though I never got a question regarding those injections in that interview. That the thing is, God will always provide you the right experiences necessary for you to succeed in your next things in life. So any kind of experience can be the stepping stone to your success. And those any kind of different kinds of experiences that you have in your life happens only when you fail at something, or when you are not good at something, and that's why you end up becoming good at something else, or transitioning to something else that is better tuned for you. So whenever you're failing at anything, ask yourself, do you wish to really succeed in this? Is it really important for you to succeed in this topic that you're failing at? And if it is important, why is it important for you? Are you giving it importance because everyone in society, everyone in your friends group, everyone like your parents are expecting you to pass this subject? Or are you doing it because you truly want to succeed in getting this degree or getting a pass certificate for a particular exam? Because ultimately, even if you continue giving that exam again and again and you pass at it, if it was not naturally aligned with your future life path or future life goals or your own personality and soul's journey, that success also wouldn't mean much. It would just mean you failed at something and then you passed at something. That's all. Because that's how my art exams are. I failed at it, but Can you see this painting? After like 20 years of failing that exam, when I was also going through some other different kinds of failures in my life, I got into painting as a relaxing activity, and I enjoy doing painting. So for me, learning the art of painting in school days, even though I failed at a graded exam for it, wasn't really a failure again. For me, it was a success, because even though I failed at that particular exam, whatever things I learned before taking that exam was still relevant for me. Just failing that exam doesn't mean that I don't know any kind of art. It just knows I don't know the expert level art that can make someone make big grand paintings that will be successful at a musical at an art studio, or whatever art related work that people do. But because I enjoy art so much from my soul, whatever I learned until that exam day was still relevant for me afterwards. I just didn't pursue it for a long time, or I would occasionally do some dabble in art, but that art was very school child like artwork. Even now, this is not like very detailed expert oriented artwork. It is still school child level artwork only, but it brings me the same joy I felt when I was a school child. So I still do it. I occasionally dabble in it, and I do it to entertain myself, relax myself. So art doesn't have to, your success at being good at doing some kind of art is the success of how it's making you feel. For me, that is why I'm doing the art. I'm not doing it for how it is going to make someone else feel. I'm not doing it to gain money out of it. I'm not doing it. I could try to gain money out of it. A friend has asked me whether you would want to do it. I never thought about it. Even now, I'm questioning about it, because these are acrylic painting, and acrylic paints have been causing, the ones which you paint in your walls also, and the ones which you paint in canvas like this, they are very harmful to our health. So I don't know if I ever want to pursue it as a profession in some kind of a professional manner. The only artwork that I would try to pursue now, after having some health issues with painting related fumes and other breathing related health issues, I would like to pursue the kind of artwork where natural dyes are used, natural paints are used, more natural colors can be used in artwork. And I would like the world also to transition like that, because acrylic is harmful to many of our health. So again, another failure of 20-30 years back is still not a failure if I don't consider it as a failure. There could be other students who might have failed the same exam and might have criticized themselves for failing it, or thinking even 30 years down the line that why did I fail that exam when I was a child, or feeling grieving about it, or wishing that I had passed, or feeling jealous of a friend who had passed, things like that. But I don't feel my brain up or my energy system up with such kind of negative energy about failures. And I always, none of my failures have seemed like a long term disappointing thing, or long term, in the grand scheme of life, real failure. At the moment it is bad, at the moment it is sad, at the moment it is kind of depressing because you lost at something, but it is not really a real loss. Even a failure of the past can be a successful thing in the future, depending on what was your inclination when you did it in the past, what was the inclination when you did it in the future, or how you transitioned and changed. I wasn't making this kind of painting when I was a kid. Even though it is a kiddish painting, it is still not a child's painting. It has some depth to it that it wouldn't have got when I was a teenager, right? So like that, sometimes with age and time, you gain better context and about certain subjects, and the subjects that have failed, even now sometimes I think, should I ever finish those PhD or doctoral degree programs? Sometimes I feel it is relevant, sometimes I feel it is not relevant. So I've left that, should I pursue it again, question a little bit to the universe, because there are many other things that I wish to pursue, and I'm pursuing these things that health wise I'm capable of pursuing right now. Because failure of health is another failure, and actual failure that everyone should be more concerned about than failure in any aspect of life. And currently, I'm in the failure of health stages of life. So that's why I do the things that are necessary to make sure that your health doesn't fail. If you think too much about any failure in any exam, any failure in any sports, any failure in any competitive activity that you did, then what you're doing is you are hindering your own journey of life and stopping yourself from being successful at something you would be successful at if you don't dwell so much on your failures, or don't keep trying things that may not be suitable for you. So when a successful thing doesn't happen to you, you should question, is this a place where I should keep on trying to succeed? Should I pivot and move on to something else? Or is this failure just ego boost or the right push I need to succeed the next time I try this? Because I think both paths are equally relevant in our future success. Trying to do something else than what you failed at, or continuing on in the path in which you failed. But no, if you are continuing on in the path that you failed, is it really your right path? You should keep on asking the universe, or even in the path that you're taking, is there some branch that you could take that would be better suited and more aligned with your soul nature, your internal nature, the way you think, the way you process a subject? Because sometimes the subject matter just isn't the right subject matter for us, and that's why we fail. Like, I never failed physics or chemistry or social studies in school, but there were moments of time when I was really bad in physics and chemistry and social studies. And they were always the times when I had some hard thing going on in the family life. So I went to near failing status in social studies in 10th standard, and in 11th and 12th. If I hadn't had tuition teachers to teach me chemistry and physics, I might have failed in those subjects as well. If not failed, I wouldn't have been great in passing through the exams of those subjects. And chemistry, I was still okay with it. That's why chemistry in pharmacy school also I was okay with understanding it. But even though I understand chemistry, I can very rarely retain any chemical equations in my brain. The topic just flies away from my head. So, in pharmacy school, there are so many subjects we learned, but out of that, why did I gravitate towards pharmacology, or why did I gravitate towards healthcare later on? Because those are the things that are aligned with my nature. That's why I changed my field of expertise as I aged, which that's my personality, that I can change and I can transition into different topics. So if you have a personality like that, maybe you should transition into different topics. But if you're a personality who just likes one topic, then stick to that topic and continue on that path. So understand your inner nature. Are you supposed to be an expert in only one topic? Are you supposed to be an expert in multiple topics, and that's why you failed in one topic? Are you not supposed to be an expert in anything except just enjoying your life? Because failure and success is also a big game that people play with their lives. Because sometimes just enjoying life is the main success of life. Enjoying what you're doing at this moment of time in your life is the key to a healthy life, the healthy life that is filled with health, wealth, education, success, everything. But it depends, what are you wanting to manifest? Because this brings us back to law of attraction. Why? I'll tell you. Now, say there are 10 human beings who have written on a check, I want $1 million, and they wished it. Does each of those 10 people get the $1 million immediately after writing it? Some people will say, yeah, I wrote it and immediately 1 month later I got that $1 million, or 1 year later I got it, or 5 years later I got it, or someone I might even say 10 years later I got it. ठीक है? Sorry, I put Hindi in there. But did you really need that $1 million? That is a question the universe will be asking in the background and testing you about. that did this person really need $1 million to succeed? Is it necessary for them to succeed in a particular field, like say they are a teacher or a doctor or a pharmacist or a writer or a director or an actor or a musician or whatever else? They are a housewife who wants a $1 million. Any of these people, are they deserving of the $1 million, or is there someone else who deserves it better because they will put the $1 million to better use? And is it possible that instead of $1 million, if you get 50,000, or if you get $1,000, or if you get $10, how are you using it when you get $10 versus $1,000 versus $100,000? Because these are also very important when the universe will give you the $1 million that you've asked it. Because yes, you have to ask, you have to believe to receive it, but also you have to be doing something meaningful with the $1 million that you will eventually receive. Either you have to be prepared to receive it, meaning there has to be something to your life purpose, life journey, next steps in your life that will not just benefit you getting that $1 million, but everyone else around you in your life might also benefit from that $1 million. That's when you will get that money. The access to it otherwise will be blocked or slowed down until slowly you realize and internalize inside yourself all the qualities needed for you to be deserving of that $1 million. Because again, it's not necessary like there are actors who manifested $1 million deals, movie deals or something, or a musician who manifested it for their life. But it is not necessary that they will directly end up like they got the $1 million today and they spent it on everyone they know. No, even that can be a very bad example of the usage of the $1 million they got. If their future life potential and the way they behave in life until that moment they got that $1 million involved them being generous with people, being kind to people, understanding the problems of people, or wanting to mentor other people like them, they are more likely, the universe will more likely take them towards the $1 million sooner than someone who's only going to get the $1 million, put it in the bank and then do nothing with it. Or someone who might put it in the bank to do nothing with it, but what if they put it in the right bank and the right place from which the investors of those banks are going to put it in some good use? Then also maybe you might receive that $1 million. Because everything in universe is very interconnected. We don't even know how interconnected things are, and that's why we don't realize the importance of making the right decisions and right aligned decisions for us. Because for someone's soul journey, maybe getting that $1 million when they are a 20-year-old kid is not good for their brains and their lifestyle, or the kind of lifestyle they lead. They might lead to health harm for themselves. They might spend it on all kinds of nasty activities and immoral stuff and things that later on when they're 40 or 50 they might regret it. But that's why the universe will see, do they need it in their 20s, or would it be better if I give this $1 million to this person because they asked for it, they'll get it, but maybe in their 30s when they will be wiser, that's when universe will give it to you. And by then you might have gained the maturity needed to know how to handle your money, partly for yourself and partly for others, right? So that's how the law of attraction also works. Or even when you want to have, like I have used law of attraction for attracting significant others in my life. But again, in that, if I haven't done the right kind of mindset related work, right kind of attitude related work, to be the person I want to attract in my life, I have to also embody some of those similar qualities. Otherwise it will be very difficult to attract the right partner that you are wanting to manifest. If I say I want someone who's family oriented, whatever is my dream goal from a guy, if that dream goals I am writing down, and if I don't embody some of those dream goals in my own life, then I will never be a right match, right? Like you have to, in order to have the right partner, you have to have some right cohesive merging of your lives together. And if those right kind of cohesive merging of your lives are not possible for you, how much ever you try to manifest someone like exactly like what you've written, things will not work out with them. Because that also happened with me one time. I had written things and qualities, not one time, two times that has happened. I've written things and qualities that I manifested in a I found a guy with some of those qualities, or almost 90% of those qualities that were very important for me to have in a life partner. But unfortunately, I forgot to mention that they should also be in love with me, they should also prioritize me and our relationship. I never asked that for the universe. So because I never asked those in those points, and also because there were other things I also had to learn about myself, that I needed to change or shift or become a better version of myself than I was at those points of time. That's why those things never worked out. So law of attraction works when it is for your best interest and for the best interest of many other people around you or in your life, or people whom you might be capable of influencing. And that's when law of attraction will work properly. Whatever you manifest, sometimes you will even get that, but even after getting what you manifested, that manifestation will stay in your life as a blessing only if the right kind of work has been done to have that manifestation hold its power and place in your life. Same thing with success. Success is a very as ephemeral as anything in life, meaning it's fleeting. It can be fleeting, it can be long lasting. It is long lasting as long as you are doing the right kind of, the term that is called as karam and dharam in Hindi. If you're doing the right kind of work, the right kind of soul purpose is involved in what you're doing in life, be it your personal life, be it your professional life, you will gain the success. And if you're doing many right things, you will keep on sustaining that success. But the moment a person starts doing a little bit of wrongful activities, or going in a darker path than they should have gone, or forgetting the whole purpose of their life and derailing themselves from the purpose of their life, that's when success will not hold and retain. There's another reason for success not to hold and retain. If, say, your life purpose journey was to explore different kinds of success and failure, someone could have come on earth to experience a little high and low and high and low of success, alternatively to understand more in-depth and more 360-degree understanding of success and failure in their lives. Because then they can help someone else who is more inclined to wanting success in their life, more depressed about not having success in their life, right? That's why I'm making this video. Because while I have experienced multiple levels of failures, which most society, if they experience it, they will be too sad, too depressed all the time about it. I am not too sad, too depressed, and not all the time about multiple failures at multiple levels of multiple things in my life, merely because every time I have failed, it has led to success in something else, or even those failures weren't really failures in my opinion about those failures. So I hope this video was helpful and educational, and I would love to hear your success and failure stories and your perspective about success and failure, or what is it about failure that makes you feel so sad, so depressed, and what is it about success that you really want from in your life. Because the success you're trying to pursue, is it really the success you should be pursuing? That's a question. Keep asking yourself anytime some kind of failure happens. Thank you. Bye. Good night.